You just reached the end game, want to do maps, but you keep dying, but you gotta do maps to pick up more equipment to stop dying. Let's fix your problems and make you survive more. Now I've reached the end game with 7 different characters, from a warrior over a second warrior with a pathfinder, witches, mercenary, monk. All have different strategies to stay alive. And we're going to throw an eye on 3 of them. And this guide is especially meant for people that don't want to spend hours and hours trading and simply want to actually play the game to get their loot, to improve their character, to use what they have to progress further. Because otherwise this guide is pretty short and I'll just tell you to go to the trade and buy better things. GG. Now let's begin with the monk, the Ice Strike, Frost Wave, hitting away, solo self-found monster. During leveling, we mostly focused on evasion, and it was really easy to put that evasion rate up high and pretty much dodge everything. The good thing about the monk is as you then pick up the invoker class, you can go for this specific note that says physical damage reduction from armor is based on your combined armor and evasion rating, which means that from this point on, I got evasion and also a damage reduction. That's obviously not 67%, but still working tons to keep me rather alive. This is not enough though, and there's another layer we can add to this, and that would be Energy Shield. Now the good thing about Energy Shield is that we have all these cool equipment pieces that have Evasion Rating and Energy Shield together, which means I can boost my Evasion Rating together with the Invoker Ascendancy to get more armor damage reduction as well, while still boosting Energy Shield in a meaningful way to build up another layer of defense. And there's one very important lesson to learn here. Right now I have 572 energy shield, and that's frankly spoken not enough. I could straight away boost it by another 124, and it's obviously not 124, it's more another 300 bonus. Now, the issue of swapping these gloves is that I'm going to be losing on my Ice Strike some significant DPS. Now, that 1000 DPS does seem like a lot, but the reality is if I'm dead, I can't deal damage. So losing 1000 DPS won't stop me from finishing maps, but dying will stop me from gaining more XP and getting more loot and finishing the map. And the same philosophy should be applied to your passive tree. Sure, you could start with bonus skill speed and then bonus attack damage. That, no problem. That's another 20% more and another 6% more skill speed. But on the other hand, this is more energy shield evasion rating into more energy shield and evasion rating, and that's another 24% more, which matters a lot more than another 20% more damage, as this measly 124 energy shield is more looking like 153. And it doesn't stop there because we get another 12, 24, and 12%. That would have our 124 suddenly times 1.72 be 213, almost twice what we've got going on. And this is a very important conscious decision to make in the end game, that you might have to take out some damage to focus more on the respective defensive nodes. On my warrior, for example, in Act 1 and 2, I start with melee damage all the way up to here. But as soon as I hit Act 3, I'm going to take these points out and go over to the armor, regeneration, more armor, and it keeps me vastly more alive. And the philosophy here is pretty simple. Even if the item ain't perfect, if it increases your survivability by tons, take it. What you should not forget is your resistances, because obviously there comes another problem now. Putting that energy shield on, well, throws my resistances in a jumble. Now I suddenly have way too much fire resist, and I gotta think about pulling this item out to then redo my resistances in a different way. That's why there's generally a big advice of keeping any ring you find. Yeah, just have a full stash tab of rings, because now I need a lot of cold resistance, so I'll just type in cold and check out where would I get the most cold resistance possible for what I'm looking for. And this would even add lightning damage, and attributes would be good. I could stash this out now with more crafting materials to see if that fits the new reality more, that I get my 70, 70, 75 resistances. Now, obviously, having your resistances 75, 75, 75 is simply not enough. It's good to have, and it will keep you alive. But if you're lacking the life, energy shield, and or evasion rating and armor to add on top of that, it won't help. Now, the very good thing about Energy Shield as a defensive layer are 2 passive skills. That is Ghost Dance. Ghost Dance gives you a Ghost Shroud every 3.35 seconds, and when you get hit, you consume one of these shrouds to recover Energy Shield equal to 5% of your evasion rating. Now, I would restore 343 energy shield if I get hit, and my energy shield is 572. That's already plenty good, just getting it restored. But what would be better is if I had even more energy shield, that when one hit depletes some of it, it doesn't matter, because it says when I get hit, not when I lose life. So even if I lose for my energy shield 500 down, I'm still staying in energy shield without ever having taken a life hit. And for this comes very handy in Grim Feast. You kill enemies, they drop remnants, and these remnants can overfill your energy shield. Yep, it can be double. So my 572 with Grim Feast remnants on killed enemies is suddenly 1,000 plus. And well, with these gloves, we're not looking at 886, we're looking at 1,700 plus. And that's with me still having to exchange my 400 evasion rating hood for a full energy shield hoodie. Because there's this fun amazing node called Subterfuge Mask, which has your helmet give you evasion rating per maximum energy shield it has. That one is pretty damn good. And frankly spoken, 3 points on this one with an energy shield helmet would be better than getting 24% more attack speed, 10 and 10% more. Sure, that would lose me some DPS again, but I would just be able to survive anything. Because that 200 more energy shield is more looking like another 400. So I would sit at 1,200 energy shield, 1,300 life, and the 1,200 energy shield would be 2,400 because of the Grim Feast. Now, how to get those good pieces of gear for your character though, especially if you're stuck and you can't do higher tier maps right now, since, well, you might be doing tier 5s, but you want to do tier 10s, but you're not just good enough for tier 10s yet. You do have your vendors, and you can also go for gambling to get better things. But what has helped me the most is making a second character. And the reason for that is pretty simple, because your second character will start at tier 1 maps again, and then do tier 3s, tier 4s, and tier 5s. And while your second character is doing this, there will be pieces of gear dropping for all kinds of different builds, classes, things. And you might just get evasion rating stuff. You might get something with evasion rating and energy shield that I have been looking for. And well, for my monk, for example, that is a potential helmet with also a bunch of maximum life, energy shield, and rarity of items found. This could straight away be something if it rolls with more energy shield increase for my monk. Now, how does this look on my witch though? Because my witch has her minions that protect her. And well, I get these dudes also pushing back the enemies and my gas bombs, and I'm relatively safe. I don't have to go up front. I can send my minions forward. I will still be catching strays, and it'll hurt. But hey, I have 2,000 energy shield, so obviously I'm a witch. I'm just boosting my energy shield like crazy. That's good. But you know what's even better? If you just add a stupid amount of bonus block chance to this. Now, the shield ain't good. The shield ain't only 25% block chance. But getting something with like 40% block chance plus is there. So you can even like just hold down your button to have your shield up, block every hit, and while you're holding it down, I can just press all the other skills. But I'm kind of like, don't even let go of my shield, right? I can just turn around. Well, I have all the other skills going, and I do my stuff with my minions, and everything is cool. So that shield is already a nice level of bonus defense, just like that, without putting in the effort. But what really helped to make my witch not die anymore and put her in a nice position is taking this very stupid node, the mind over matter. All damage is taken from mana before life. Now, you would say mind over matter only makes sense if you actually put it together with Eldritch Battery, where I convert my energy shield over to mana, then everything is being taken from mana, and then I would get a lot of mana regeneration to kind of mitigate the impact of the damage. Technically, that's an interesting thought. But right now, I simply have 3 pools of things that gotta be depleted before I die. I gotta take energy shield damage, mana damage, and life damage. And the interesting part is that I can, well, replenish my mana with potions and my life with potions. So both of these resources are easily replenishable while they're being hit by monsters. But if I take a very big hit, it's going to soak down my mana, it's going to soak down my shield, and then at the very last resort, I will actually take life damage. And all of that together with, well, the actual chance to block, truly prevents me from taking a hit that would take me out, while I have all my resistances going on. And yes, even with Kaya's resistance only at 10%, Kaya's damage due to the triple stack of resistances just has me survive. What's with a weird hybrid character like the Mercenary though? Because I'm a little bit stuck here with armor and evasion rating, because I kind of need strength for my equipment. And I needed some strength for my skills. Attrition 80, Herald of Ash also 133 strengths, and Overwhelming Presence was another 133. So that was quite expensive. Therefore, I mainly went for armor gear. I mean, that's my 2,000 armor chest, right? And some evasion rating on the side. Because that's the thing. Armor is not working correctly. It doesn't mitigate the amount of damage that you would like it to mitigate. And evasion rating can also not evade everything unless you go for the acrobatic nodes in the board. Because acrobatics would have you evade all hits, but it would also be 70% less evasion rating. So make sure you have enough evasion rating to use this. At least 70% after having 70% less. Because then you can also evade area of effect strikes. Now, my merc is though stuck with this amount of armor and this amount of evasion. Now, the best thing for this character would be another spirit skill. And in my case, there are two options. I could go for Wind Dancer. That will give me another 17% evasion rating per stage, 3 stages. So we're going to have 17, 34, 51% evasion rating, which multiplies up our 40% evasion rating. As I then get hit, well, I would lose some of that evasion rating, but the Wind Dancer would push back our opponents and give me a moment of staying alive. Just adding a very easy layer of defense to the character that's meant to drop grenades and then run around and then drop some more grenades and then maybe explode these grenades, right? So that's what you're doing. But while I'm running around and if I get hit, I would just rebuff the enemies and then refill my stages of the Wind Dancer. Alternative, we get another interesting one, and that would be Scavenged Plating. Scavenged Plating gives you more armor per Scavenged Plating, and you get Scavenged Plating by fully breaking enemies' armor. Well, how would we do that? We have our gas grenade, and our gas grenade currently does break armor, and not really few of that. So by shooting 2 gas grenades into a pack of opponents, you would instantly build up 8 Scavenged Plating. That then with a Persistence Gem would also last longer, because right now it's only 8 seconds, but we could do it 40% longer, and it just gives you another layer of defense. Scavenged Plating together with Wind Dancer would have me deal less damage because I would lose my Herald of Ash, but it would straight away boost my armor and my evasion rating to keep me more alive. Obviously, I also need more max life because you can only evade and mitigate that much damage. But if you don't have the life to survive the blow, you'll go down. What's with our final problem child right now, the Warrior? We recently leveled up a Totem Warrior, and he has a very interesting layer of defense. I've been focusing mainly on maximum armor, but that was obviously not enough. The good thing is a warrior can always wield a shield, which gives you a huge chunk of bonus armor. And as I play a Totem Warrior and take a more passive approach, I can use a skill called a Resonating Shield, which knockbacks enemies, breaks their armor, and at the same time blocks everything from every direction that is blockable. And I can even stand like this in front of bosses and cannot be damaged. Otherwise, you're just making that block chance as high as possible that you're just simply passively blocking things. Now, armor is obviously not your only layer of defense here. Armor's great, armor's fantastic, but it doesn't work correctly. That being said though, what you have is total life regeneration as well. Because I'm right now sitting at 300, and that's not even where I'm going for. I kind of want to end up at 400 somewhat. And that will keep me alive through a lot of things. I mean, I get damage and then voop, damage and then voop, damage and then voop, and straight up go back up again. And especially with the chance to block everything around you and to mitigate just some hits in between with the blocking in general, or just be able to lift my shield to block everything from one direction, which pretty much the Resonating Shield does as well. I just stay alive and I can't die. Well, unless chaos damage hits me and just tears me into pieces. Now, all these items on all these characters are pretty much found themselves or found by others. This chest piece here I got from my monk, and the items for my monk I mostly get from my ranger. And the items from my ranger I did actually get a lot with the witch hunter. And I did get surprisingly a very good bow that I'm most likely going to use on my witch hunter, as I seem to be unable to get a bombard bow from my main character. And the interesting part here is too that all your different characters in the end game, well, they all have different shops. So you can just go here and check, oh, might this be something for my witch hunter? Might this be something for my monk? Might this be something for my warrior? And then check on the other character vice versa for your other chars as well, to make sure here, this is Evasion Rating Energy Shield. That is actually better almost than the one I have right now. This could probably eclipse it really easily. And that's why multiple characters are so good with the multi-shops. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I could give you some ideas on how to juice up their defense and how to become, well, a more surviving player. Thank you very much for watching, and if you're now looking for a warrior starter or an absolutely amazing monk, 2 great guides to have more fun. Enjoy.